Always great to have Ian Castleberry joining the Wise Guys with Barrett Sports Media. And, of course, Ian's appearance presented by David Kreisman and DC Kreisman Jewelers. Ian, hope you're having a good day, buddy.
Yeah, doing well. How about you guys?
Hey, man, not too bad, man. We got a lot to get to. It never ends in the NFL. Sometimes, we'll say the offseason is actually more busy than the regular season. But here we go, guys. Michael, we'll start first. Ian, where does Deebo Samuel? Why does he want out of San Francisco? Where did this come from?
Deebo Samuel has been trying to get a contract extension from the 49ers. He's a free agent after this season, and salaries for wide receivers have exploded. We've seen it in Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Deebo Samuel wants some of that. But I don't know if the 49ers think he is of that elite level as a wide receiver. He did have an outstanding season last year, 1,400 yards receiving. And as you guys and the listeners know, Deebo Samuel also very effective as a runner. And according to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, that might be some of the problem as well, in that Deebo Samuel doesn't necessarily want to keep playing in that hybrid role, that maybe he's getting worn down a little bit, running the ball as much as he does. So it appeared that the 49ers and Samuel would eventually reach some sort of agreement, but now Samuel says he wants to be traded. He's not going to off-season workouts. He has scrubbed social media. That's the move these days, to scrub all references to the 49ers. So this seems like it could potentially be an ugly situation.
Michael, it's interesting how Deebo Samuel, who was a really good wide receiver, but he really made his name as kind of this hybrid player. Now he kind of wants to get back to that wide receiver, but I don't know if he's Tyreek Hill. I don't see that kind of money coming to him. Stephon Diggs, of course, your people. And this is kind of a conundrum for both sides.
Yeah, it sure is. It'll be interesting to see what happens. One of the rumors going around, I don't know if you've heard about this, is about him being traded to the Jets, which, boy, if that happens, the AFC gets really interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. What other teams, too, Ian, are you hearing?
Yeah, the Jets are looking for a wide receiver, and the Texans are a team coming up as well. And I think the reason those two teams are mentioned is because they have extra first-round picks, and that's what the 49ers are going to want if they trade Deebo Samuel, to get a first-round pick. The 49ers do not have a first-round pick in this year's draft, having given that up when they moved up to get Trey Lance. But what other teams could be interested? I mean, you can make the case that every team in the NFL could use Deebo Samuel. Would the Packers want him? The Chiefs, the Jaguars, they just signed Christian Kirk. The Lions, any team in need of a top wide receiver, I think would have interest in Deebo Samuel. But yeah, I would put the Jets and the Texans as front runners because they can trade, or they have first round picks to spare.
Geez, that's just like, all right, Deebo, you went out of San Francisco? We're going to send you to the Jets. No. Actually, I love the Bay Area. Let's keep it here. We'll wait and see where that one goes for sure. All right, Ian. Now I saw one mock draft have the Cardinals taking Kenny Pickett in the first round at like number 24 or 25. All right, maybe that was just to get attention. I get it, but it certainly got mine. What is up with Kyler Murray in Arizona? You're hearing things, but you're not really hearing anything from Kyler Murray.
This is a similar situation to Deebo Samuel, actually, in that Kyler Murray wants a contract extension from the Arizona Cardinals. And infamously, earlier in this offseason, Murray also scrubbed his social media of all references to the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if that situation has improved, but Murray also not attending off-season workouts. And it should be said, at this point in the off-season, those off-season workouts are just players can work with strength and conditioning coaches, but they're not working with actually, the head coach or offensive coordinators or their position coaches. So they do have the option of skipping those workouts, and I think the union actually encourages that as a way to heal up after a long season. But there have been questions. I don't know if the Cardinals have kind of floated this out there, saying, we have questions about his leadership. Maybe his size actually is a factor. Is he a true pocket passer? But I think what you have to question when you look at the Cardinals is, are they better with or without Kyler Murray? And you mentioned, Pat, this mock draft that said the Cardinals might take Kenny Pickett with pick number 23, which would certainly indicate that they are interested in trading Kyler Murray. But are the Cardinals better with Kenny Pickett at quarterback or
No.
with Kyler Murray?
Kyler, for sure, in my opinion.
I tell you, this really does put the Cardinals in a weird position. You've got a situation where the head coach has been signed for he's going to be there for a while. The general manager, he's set in. There are some talk about Murray. Maybe he's just too small. He's going to be hurt too much. He's going to get hurt. But I mean, the Cardinals have gotten better each year with him, and they were the best team in the NFL the first half of the season, and. I'm sure they're kicking themselves. They could have beaten Seattle in the last game of the year. They're hosting the Rams. They win the NFC West title. So, and you think, boy, maybe they could have followed the same path that the Rams felt, that path. But do you think there's some, Ian, do you think there's some just, maybe some discussion in Arizona? He's just not quite the guy we want. Instead, he's kind of a me first kind of guy, and if he's going to be like this, we don't need to put $40 million toward him and just kill our team. I mean, just your thoughts on that.
No, I agree. I think that is part of the concern for the Cardinals. It is interesting. I mean, you mentioned Coach Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he was apparently, it looked like they brought him in to coach Kyler Murray. Remember, the Cardinals had drafted Josh Rosen. And it turns out that was a good decision to go with Kyler Murray over Josh Rosen, who's bounced around the league since then. But maybe there's some thought, does Cliff Kingsbury realize now that he can't work with Kyler Murray, or that Murray's kind of set in his ways? Maybe he has some limitations that he didn't anticipate, or what Kingsbury thought would work, air raid offense, whatever you want to call it, maybe isn't as effective in the NFL as he thought. So the thought being that maybe they need a more conventional quarterback, pocket passer, somebody who's a little bit taller. And again, leadership concerns, which I think might be the biggest concern for the Cardinals. You mentioned they wonder if Kyler Murray is a me-first type player.
Yeah, this kind of makes me wonder, Ian. I mean, I know this changes like daily and weekly, but as of today, what does you feel on Kyler Murray with this team in 2023?
I think he's going to return to the Cardinals for the biggest reason being, if Murray really wanted to trade, I think he would be forcing the issue a little bit more, like Deebo Samuel, like we saw with Tyreek Hill. I mean, the NFL is very much becoming the NBA now, where if players want a trade, if they want to be moved, they are making all kinds of noise, whether it's them or their agents talking to other teams, trying to make moves happen. We haven't seen that with Kyler Murray. We've seen, the dissatisfaction, the passive moves of scrubbing social media and whatnot. But we haven't seen Kyler Murray really get proactive and trying to force a trade. So that makes me think that somehow Murray and the Cardinals are going to work this out.
All right. We'll see where this one plays. No doubt is that Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys, Barrett Sports Media, and presented each and every week by David Creasman and DC Creasman Jewelers. All right, Ian, it looks like there's more clarity perhaps in the death of Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, the Broward County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Highway Patrol both released some information, even though after this they say they're not going to say anything more until the investigation is completed. But the Broward County Sheriff's Office released audio of a 911 call in which Dwayne Haskins' wife called 911 saying that her husband was walking to get gas, and she was concerned that something might be happening in that area, that there would be an accident. Obviously, that's exactly what happened. But according to Florida Highway Patrol, they don't see the dump truck driver who hit Haskins as taking any improper action. It was an unavoidable situation if Haskins had walked out onto the highway like that. And according to the report, Haskins unfortunately was hit by a second car, not just the dump truck, but there was a car that was trying to maybe get around the dump truck or move out of the way, and Haskins was struck by that vehicle as well. And there have been some eyewitness reports saying that even a third vehicle may have struck Haskins. So that, he was apparently, according to his wife, trying to get gas for his car, but jumping out onto the highway the way he did, obviously terrible and fatal situation there.
Just tragic for sure, Mike Gore.
Yeah, just beyond awful.
My goodness. All right, Mike, get ready. Here we go. All right, so Ian, is Tom Brady taking snaps for the Buccaneers or the Dolphins next season?
I think he's absolutely taking snaps for the Buccaneers. If he was going to go to the Miami Dolphins, I think that would have been done already. The reports are that Brady originally retired and then supposedly was going to come back with the Dolphins, maybe with an ownership stake in the team or a role with the team, and then would miraculously come out of retirement to help the Dolphins when they need a takeover for Tua. I think what really happened here is the Brian Flores lawsuit and the Rooney Rule really messed this up, because also, in addition to Tom Brady going to the Dolphins, there were reports that Sean Payton was also going to be the coach of the Miami Dolphins. But to hire Payton, that would have circumvented the whole Rooney Rule process. And I think once Brian Flores filed that lawsuit, everybody just kind of backed off and said, we can't do this. Maybe Brady wanted no part of it. Payton may not have either. And with Bruce Arians retiring now in Tampa Bay, I think part of that was, if Arians is to be believed, that he didn't want to stick Todd Bowles with a bad team and an unproven quarterback. So Brady coming back to play quarterback for the Buccaneers for Todd Bowles I think that's the situation we're going to have going into this season.
And Mike Gore, we've not heard anything from your guy Tom Brady at all.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, we have to have a big event happen. Maybe
stand back, Ian.
Maybe if Russia and Ukraine reach peace, then all of a sudden Brady will have something to say, or he'll start a new rumor out or something. And,
I mean, it's more like a conspiracy theory than anything else, right? I mean, it's kind of weird.
Mike, you're assuming that Brady wouldn't have brokered peace between.
That's true. That's silly me. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. Of course he would have been over there.
Everything.
Because he would have gone to see a game in England first, like he did before, and then he would have sat Putin down and stuff, and then probably the key to deal is that he wanted to get Robert Kraft's Super Bowl ring that Putin stole from him about 15, 20 years ago, and when Kraft was visiting Moscow. No, he was visiting Moscow, and he got to meet Putin, and he showed him his Super Bowl ring, and Putin just took off with it.
Yeah.
And he asked the State Department, "Hey, I want my ring back." Said, "Could you just not worry about this? We're just get a new one, Bob. Yeah. Just let him have it. We're just not going to spend much time on this." But I'm sure we'll get some Brady news here soon and stuff. I just we can't go a week without it. Would have been interesting to see if that lawsuit hadn't gone through. If this really would have happened.
Yeah.
If Brady would have gone to Miami and they would have brought Sean Payton, it would have been very interesting. And so we'll see. We'll see what the next Tom Brady story is.
Is the NFL? I hope they're paying attention, guys, to Mr. Ross, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, and that supposed bribery that Brian Flores said, basically, hey, if you tank games, I'll give you $100,000 per loss. I hope the NFL is looking into that, because if that's true, he shouldn't be owning an NFL team. And you know what? Wide open for Tom Brady and anyone else to come in and try and buy that squad. But I hope the NFL doesn't think we're not, paying attention to what Stephen Ross said. Although I know we forget, things come at us so fast these days, you forget things. But still, to me, that was just a wacky conspiracy theory at the time. All right. As Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys via the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines, thanks to DC for bringing us our NFL Gold Nuggets feature. All right, Ian, Colin Kaepernick has said he's just fine being a backup quarterback in the NFL. He just wants the chance. Ian, do you find it odd that NFL fans are good with Deshaun Watson, but Colin Kaepernick is a problem for some of them?
I don't find it odd. I mean, it's a situation I don't agree with, but yes, for some reason, Colin Kaepernick, well, not for some reason, we know why. Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem is a big problem with people who wear their patriotism on their sleeve, who feel like Colin Kaepernick is anti-police. And I think that sort of outrage is much easier to get worked up about versus somebody who's accused of sexual misconduct, sexual assault. And of course, a big part of that is that fans probably look at Deshaun Watson and think, hey, he can help us win a Super Bowl. He's really good. And Colin Kaepernick being on, the downside of his career, I think certainly his days of being a starting quarterback are over. He's right to say that he could at least be a backup. I mean, he hasn't played in the NFL for 5 years. 5 years. It'll be 6 this year.
Yeah. He's
going to turn 35 years old in November. But I mean, I certainly think he could be a backup in the NFL. Mm. I mean, if you're listening, I'm sorry about this, but I would have rather the Detroit Lions had Colin Kaepernick as a backup quarterback than David Blau, for instance. But it is a curious situation that fans seem to be okay with Deshaun Watson and not with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, it's interesting, this kind of diluted impression of patriotism that some people in our country have. And, people talk about freedom. Well, you know what? I should be able to do what I want. Okay, Colin Kaepernick does peaceful demonstration, and suddenly it's like you're banning him. I mean, that goes totally against this country, and that's not what this country is about. I've always said that with Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he's allowed to do that. Now, you're allowed to say, you know what, I don't agree with that. That's fine. You don't have to. But the NFL should be ashamed of itself that they didn't get, I can guarantee you, if this was Tom Brady taking a knee, the NFL would have handled this a whole lot differently. They would have backed Tom Brady. They've just left Colin Kaepernick hanging out there. And the more and more this goes on, the more and more, I think, for me, just gets more upsetting when you see guys like Deshaun Watson, Tyreek Hill, all these players in there with these assault charges against them over the years. And here's Colin Kaepernick, who, by the way, has given a ton of money to charity. He started his own charitable organization. He's done a lot of good in this time. That he gets shunned the way he has, I think it's just a disgrace, and this country should be ashamed. I mean, if you're going to talk freedom, then damn it, make it happen, all right? This is what freedom is, the freedom to do what you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. And who was Colin Kaepernick hurting? By taking a knee in a silent protest, if you will, of racism in this country. It frustrates me for Kaepernick that he's not gotten the opportunity to at least show what he can do.
If he was a better player, he would have gotten it. Unfortunately, his skills were starting to erode, and that's.
Well, try him out, though. I mean, at least give him the tryout.
The problem there, Pat, is I'm not disagreeing with you. Is do you want the kind of stuff that was hovering around? Do you want that for your backup quarterback? And just do you? I mean, I think there was a situation with the Ravens. He was ready to go, and I don't know if it was his girlfriend or something that kind of insulted the Ravens or said something crazy about it. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Pat. But just sometimes, like you said, if he was Tom Brady, this wouldn't be a big thing. But when you're a backup quarterback and his skills, he had a wonderful couple of years there with the 49ers, but teams had figured him out by this point and stuff. He wasn't effective as he once was and stuff. And how much are you going to put up with as an owner for a backup quarterback that's a social justice warrior? You're just not going to do it. So again, I'm not disagreeing with you, Pat, but just I think this is what it boiled down to. The bottom line is he just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Well, I think. I'll push back a little bit on that. I know he was maybe a bit on the downside, but I can guarantee right now he'd be better, I think, than a third of the backup quarterbacks in this league. But he'll never get that opportunity because of what happened there, and that's just sad. That's just sad. I hear what you're saying, and I know teams. Nowadays it takes a lot of guts to go ahead and make this happen for Colin Kaepernick for these teams.
Did you guys see the report that if Jim Harbaugh had gotten the Minnesota Vikings job, that there were reports that he would have named Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback?
No, I didn't. Holy cow, really? I'm not ready to go that far.
I forget where that came out, if it was Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, or one of the insiders. Not Adam Schefter. It was either Albert Breer or Ian Rappaport.
Well, if he told
reported that this week.
If he told the Vikings in that meeting that was his plan, we can pretty well now get a better idea why he was not considered or not given the job for sure. Wow. I did not know that. That's crazy. But, hey, that's Harbaugh. Hey, buddy, great to catch up with you. As always, Ian Castleberry writes for Barrett Sports Media. And, of course, here Thursdays with the Wise Guys, NFL Gold Nuggets. And, Ian, we look forward to catching up with you on Monday for our Major League Baseball update.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay.
Us too.
You guys enjoy the rest of your week.
You too, buddy. Good weekend, Ian. Be well, friend. There you have it, Ian Castleberry with the Wise Guys, and Ian's appearance presented by David Creasman and DC Creasman Jewelers.